Welcome to the Handed Down Kitchen, where we bring recipes out of the past and back into the kitchen. Today we have an Edwardian recipe for a rich fruit mincemeat, which you can use to make all sorts of festive treats, particularly good old-fashioned mince pies, which have been eaten around this time of year for centuries. We found this recipe in our copy of High Class Cookery Recipes, which was published in 1909, and we used some of it to make the Edwardian mince pies you just saw, using a recipe for short crust pastry from the same book. And we'll show you how we made these in our next video, but this one is all about the mincemeat, and to make it you will need the following ingredients. Starting with the spices, you're going to need 2 cloves, 1 teaspoonful of mace and 1 teaspoonful of cinnamon. You'll also need 20 grams of caster sugar, half a saltspoonful of salt, 1½ apples, 1½ lemons, 450 grams of currants, 110 grams of mixed peel, 340 grams of raisins, 225 grams of beef suet, 70 millilitres of port, and the same amount of brandy. The first thing to do is to grind together all of the spices, the 2 cloves, the mace and the cinnamon. Mace is a spice that's made from the covering of a whole nutmeg seed. If you can't find mace, you can always grate in a little nutmeg. Then peel and core your apples and chop them up as finely as possible. We're using Bramley apples here. Mince pies filled with a similar mixture of spices, fruits and spirits have been eaten at least since the 15th century and were originally mixed with some type of ground up meat like mutton or beef, and that is why the filling is called mincemeat. Even though including real meat in the pies fell out of fashion a few centuries ago, the name has stayed the same since. One of the great things about making your own mincemeat is that it keeps for ages and matures over time. If you store it properly, it can last for more than a year. And now our apple is all chopped up, we're just putting it into some cold lemon water to keep it from browning. Then zest and juice your 1½ lemons. Although we halved the original ingredient measurements, we still ended up with about 1.3 kg of mincemeat, and we only managed to use a bit of it this year, so we're keeping the rest of it jarred up for next winter, and by then it should taste even better. With all of the ingredients prepared, all we need to do now is mix them together and jar them up. Starting with your dried fruit, pour into a large bowl your currants, raisins and mixed peel. Then add in your ground up spices, half a saltspoonful of salt, the sugar, the lemon zest, the suet, the apple which has been drained of its lemon water, and finally the liquid ingredients, so the port, brandy and the lemon juice. Give this all a really good mix so that everything is well combined before jarring. Make sure that you've washed your jar at least a day in advance before jarring, because it must be absolutely bone dry. Otherwise, you run the risk of your mincemeat growing mouldy. We have a 1 litre jar here which we filled up with a little left over and put this into a cool, dark place to use when needed. We'll be coming back to ours soon to make our mince pies, so it can stay on our shelf just for now. And that's it, a 1909 recipe for mincemeat. Now all that's left to do is to use it. We hope you enjoyed this video. If so, please leave us a like, and if you'd like to see us recreate more antique or old recipes, be sure to subscribe to our channel. You can also find full instructions for this recipe and many more on our website, linked in the description box below.